In this episode, we're going to talk about storytelling. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, but you can call me Pajama Grandma. In case we haven't met yet, go ahead and put hashtag pajama in the comments below so know it's the first time you're being exposed to the Pajama Grandma. Today is day 305 of me sharing my transition from the offline brick and mortar world of real businesses to the online world, or how I'm helping businesses and myself make that transition, or just add an online component to your existing business. As part of that, I've mentioned I'm doing a women's summit, doing a lot of work on that, but I'm also doing a couple projects of my own. And one of those projects is involving getting 5,000 visitors. They don't have to be customers, but 5,000 visitors to a landing page or a website or a place. It could use this for anything, but I'm doing it for what's called a funnel. The first page of a funnel, it's called a lead magnet, and where I teach people the 5 best ways to get customers for free. So I'm actually doing what I'm promising I've been challenged by somebody in another challenge to get 5,000 visitors to this new site for free, meaning no money can be spent on advertising. $0 can be spent on advertising. So I'm having to be real creative and figure out ways now. The first thing I'm doing is applying those 5 things that I teach. So the first thing I did is I set up a Facebook page and a Facebook group. Now, and going through the first 5 things, I'm just going to tease you with the first one, but I will share the link if you want to go ahead and get that free lead magnet and help me get to my 5,000. I would so appreciate that. But part of what I'm learning and realizing about myself, and it hit home today as I was doing my supersized business video, it's about storytelling. And how some people are just awesome natural storytellers. I think of my sister. My youngest sister is an amazing storyteller and timing person. She can always tell a joke. I remember when we were in high school, she would always share the joke of the day with my dad every morning. And that started when she was just a little girl, because she's 4 years younger than me. And she would always tell the joke of the day. And then she worked at a comedy club that my oldest sister, owned for a while. And she managed that. And she was around a lot of comedians, and she's always had this incredible sense of timing and the ability to tell a story that is just incredible. My grandfather had that. And so there have been people in my life that have that. And then there's me. I am so stoic and boring and normal. I hate to say that, but just serious. And maybe it's because of how old I am and the era I grew up in and the environment and the people that I was around. But I am having to literally work at and practice telling stories and becoming a better storyteller, because I just tell the facts and I just tell the story and I just state things because I'm a get to the point. Here it is. Don't tell me a 5-minute story. This is part of why I'm divorced, because my husband would always have to tell this big story. And if I would ask a question, he'd have to start over. It drove me nuts. Still drives me nuts. And so it's really a stretch for me to figure out, how do I tell stories and incorporate stories into the information that I share so that people understand where I'm coming from, and so that they get the story, so that they understand the emotional impact and the trials and tribulations and things that I've gone through. Instead of me just saying, well, I had a sudden cardiac arrest and died, and I'm happy to be here. Okay, that's not a very compelling story, right? But actually, somebody that's been dead and is still here talking to you is a pretty cool thing. So I need to find a way to share that with people in a way that is a lot more compelling than my deadpan, straight to the facts, engineering brain wants me to share things. So I'm actually working on learning how to become a better storyteller. And that means I have to practice. I have to practice a lot. So on my videos, you'll probably see me practicing telling stories a little bit more, adding examples. I'm cool with adding examples and case studies, but I'm not very good at, how do I make it a story? How do I make it something that other people can relate to? Because the only way you remember something is if it's something that you can relate to. Our brains think in pictures and experiences. And that means emotions and energy. So we have to find a way, I have to find a way to tap into, number one, my own emotions and my own experiences, my own energy, in order to, and where I was in a certain situation and how I reacted to it, to be able to convey that and share that with other people. It's a stretch for me. I'm going to tell you, it's it doesn't come naturally for me. It's going to take a lot of practice and a lot of actual concerted effort and planning, kind of like becoming a decent speaker. In corporate America, one of the biggest things I was afraid of, just like everybody else, is having to give presentations and speeches in front of, my peers and then direct reports and people that work for me. Initially, I was scared to do that, but I knew it was a skill if I was going to be successful in my corporate career that I was going to have to acquire and achieve. So I learned how by practicing and practicing and practicing to do a great job giving a presentation and giving a speech. And then it got to the point where I actually loved doing them. I finished my corporate career as a vice president of quality, and that meant I had to talk to and interact with people at all levels of inside and outside the organization on all topics that had to do with every function in some really big businesses. And I needed to get comfortable with being able to talk to anybody. So I kind of got to the point where I can talk to anybody and everybody about just about anything here's the trick. You just ask questions and listen. If you ask questions and are a good listener, you can talk to anybody about anything. If you're more interested in other people than you are in spewing your own crap, people will automatically open up and like you. I learned that in journalism. When I was in high school, I was a journalist. I was the editor of my newspaper, in college too. But in high school is where I first learned it, because I had to interview, I remember, the school board president and the person in charge of the school board. And it was a very controversial, politically hotbed time back then. And everybody was afraid to do this article and to do this interview. And this was when I was just a sophomore in high school. So I was only in 10th grade, and I hadn't even really hardly joined the paper yet. I just did a couple of articles that were really good, and I ended up being selected editor then. So that was a really fun time. But it was because I was willing to step out of my comfort zone and not be afraid to talk to anyone that I was able to get that position. And I wasn't even seeking it, and I ended up getting it. So that was pretty cool. And sometimes things like that happen in our lives when we're doing something that we're just automatically good at and destined to do, and that we love doing and we aren't afraid to do. We shine in that area, and we get accolades, and we get promotions, and we get to do things that we never even imagined were possible for us. So storytelling is going to be something that I'm practicing over the next, it might take me 2 years to figure it out. It might take me 10 years. Does it matter? No. However long it takes me to figure out and get better and good at it, that's what I'll do, because I know it's a skill, and it's a skill. Guess what? None of us are born knowing how to do anything, and none of us get to take it with us. So everything we do, I personally believe that anybody can learn to do anything that they want to. If your desire is strong enough, you'll find a way to figure out how to make it happen in your life. Now, naysayers will say, no, that's not true. It's not possible. And I will say, absolutely, there's things in my life that I've wanted to do. Since I lost my vision, I can no longer play tennis. I used to love playing tennis. I love playing tennis. And I tried for about, oh my gosh, at least 5 years to play tennis with only one eye. I can't see out of my left eye. And if you've watched me at all, you know I use a magnifying glass to see out of my right eye and to do just about anything. Love this magnifying glass, by the way. My favorite, I got to get another couple of these and have them around the house, because once you find a favorite tool that helps you do things that you're struggling with, you love it, and you want to have one everywhere, in every room in the house. An aside, tennis. So I tried to play tennis for a lot of years after I lost my vision, and it was really frustrating. And I finally decided that I love tennis. It's a part of my past, but I'm not going to continue to struggle trying to do something that whenever I go to swing at the ball, I miss between 3 and 4 feet. It's like, I'm sure that had I had the strong enough desire, I could have compensated for my lack of vision and figured out a way to continue to play tennis. But I got busy, I got married and had kids and got interested in other things. And so tennis just didn't seem that important anymore. So if you're thinking that's not possible, somebody that doesn't have any legs can't run a marathon. And I will show you examples of people that don't have any legs but run a marathon and compete in sports and do all kinds of things. So, we love to spew out and give reasons and excuses for why we can't do things. But I'm going to tell you, my dad taught me there's no such thing as can't, and I 100% believe him. There's, I don't want to, I won't, I'm not going to try, I don't want to put forth the effort, it's not that important to me, it's not a priority for me. Those are all ways of saying I can't. And they're better ways of saying I can't, because I can't is an excuse. all of those things are, here's my justification for why I'm choosing not to do this. Now, isn't that a much more powerful position to come from than, I can't, I don't know, it's too hard. Okay, that's not my best whiny voice, but it's right up there. So storytelling, that's my focus today. I'm going to make a whole list of stories I want to tell. And then as I'm going about my day, just in my head, I'm going to start practicing telling stories. And I will tell you, the number one thing I know I need to add already is emotion and more detail. I tell a story like I'm a cardboard box. I really need to work on that. You know, just the facts, ma'am. It reminds me of, what was that show with the two detectives and Joe, his name was Joe. Joe something would always say, just the facts, ma'am, only the facts. And I feel like Joe, so I don't want to be like Joe anymore. So have an absolutely fabulous day. You know I'm going to be with you tomorrow, and I'm probably going to try to tell you a story. Bye.